My name is Linda Johnson. I'm 38 years old and work as an accounting consultant based in Chicago. I've just landed at O'Hare International Airport, feeling the air of my hometown on my skin for the first time in 6 months. Having completed a long overseas business trip, I'm filled with a mix of relief at finally being able to return to my family and anxiety about what I'm about to see. In the upscale Gold Coast neighborhood of Chicago lies our home, where I live with my husband Robert and our daughter Emma. Although we've only spent 10 years of our married life in this city, it has become our hometown. My career at Ernst & Young got off to a smooth start after obtaining my MBA. I worked tirelessly as a newcomer, gradually building up my achievements. Now, I'm entrusted with international projects, which means more overseas business trips. While I find my work fulfilling, I'm troubled by the dilemma of having less time with my family. My husband Robert is 40 years old and works as a tax consultant at Deloitte. A Northwestern University graduate, he has a serious and steady personality. We met when I visited his company as a client. Our relationship started as a professional one, but we were drawn to each other's similar values, which led to our marriage. And then there's Emma, our precious treasure. Our 5-year-old daughter has brought us happiness and joy. She's just started attending Lincoln Elementary School and comes home every day with eyes full of joy from learning new things. Her smile is a magic cure that heals our tired hearts. Our daily family life was built on small moments of happiness, like conversations around the dinner table on weekday evenings or weekend picnics in Millennium Park. Since Emma was born, we've made an effort to cherish family time. My phone is full of memories, family photos taken at Willis Tower, Emma's smiling face at Navy Pier, and boat trips on Lake Michigan. However, in recent years, as my overseas business trips increased, family time gradually decreased. At first, they were short trips, but now longer ones like this recent 6-month stay are becoming more common. Robert has been understanding, but every time I see Emma's lonely expression, my heart aches. During this 6-month trip, communication with my family didn't go as well as I'd hoped. Due to time zone differences and busy schedules, even my time to talk with Emma was limited. In the last month, there was hardly any contact from Robert. As I climb into an Uber and rush home, my heart is filled with both love for my family and anxiety that something might have happened. As the Gold Coast cityscape spreads out beyond the window, I take a deep breath and let my thoughts wander to the reunion awaiting me at our home. The Chicago cityscape visible from the Uber window was as vibrant as it was 6 months ago. However, everything looks fresh to my eyes. After a long time abroad, the air of my hometown feels nostalgic and slightly different. Through casual conversation with the driver, I learned about the changes in Chicago over the past 6 months. New restaurants have opened, and new artwork is on display in Millennium Park. As I think about taking Emma there, I suddenly feel a tightness in my chest. A pang of regret for missing moments of my daughter's growth flits across my heart. "Ma'am, we've arrived at Gold Coast." The driver's voice brings me back to reality, and I see the familiar sight of our home. In the small garden in front of the entrance, the tulips I planted before leaving are blooming beautifully. Seeing the flowers Emma and I planted together firmly rooted gives me a sense of relief. "I'm home," I say as I open the front door and step inside. However, there's no welcoming voice or sound of Emma's running footsteps as I expected. The house is eerily quiet, feeling somehow lifeless. "Robert? Emma?" I call out, but there's no response. Anxiety spreads in my chest. As I step into the living room, I find toys scattered about and dust settled everywhere. I wonder why Robert, who's usually so clean, hasn't tidied up. Heading to the kitchen, I find a mountain of dishes piled in the sink and the smell of garbage lingering. Opening the refrigerator, it's almost empty, with mold growing on the few remaining food items. What on earth happened? I mutter under my breath as I head upstairs. With each step, my heartbeat quickens. As I open the door to Emma's room, an unbelievable sight unfolds before me. Emma. On the bed lies Emma, emaciated and listless. Her cheeks are sunken, there are dark circles under her eyes, and her skin has turned pale. When I call out to her, Emma opens her eyes slightly and says in a faint voice, "Mommy, I'm hungry." Those words make my heart feel like it's about to burst. I quickly lift Emma up, shocked by how light she feels. Her body is nothing but skin and bones. There's no trace of the active, healthy daughter I said goodbye to 6 months ago. "It's okay, Emma. Mommy will take care of everything." While holding Emma close, I search for Robert. There's no answer when I knock on the master bedroom door. Fearfully opening the door, I find Robert in a drastically changed state. His beard is overgrown, his hair disheveled, and his eyes vacant. Robert sits on the bed, staring at the wall like a doll. "Robert. What happened? Why is Emma?" Even when I call out to him, Robert doesn't react. He just repeats in a faint voice, "Ashley. Why? Why did you leave me?" Ashley. The unfamiliar name confuses me. But now is not the time to think about that. Emma's life is in danger. I take out my cell phone and quickly call an ambulance. While explaining the situation to the operator, I continue to hold Emma close. "It's okay, Emma. Mommy's here. Everything will be all right." As I look at Emma's emaciated body, I struggle to hold back my tears. How did it come to this? Why didn't Robert take care of our daughter? Who is Ashley? Questions and regrets, along with anger, swirl in my mind, throwing my heart into turmoil. I begin to hear the sound of the ambulance siren approaching. I take a deep breath, facing the reality I'm about to confront and the difficulties that await. Right now, Emma is the top priority. All the truth must be uncovered later. Life can change in an instant. I was painfully aware of that reality. As the ambulance siren wailed, I rushed to the entrance, still holding Emma. The paramedics quickly assessed Emma's condition and placed her on a stretcher. During this time, I explained Robert's situation as well. "My husband is, something's wrong with him too. He's not responding." The paramedics immediately requested a second ambulance. I would accompany Emma, while Robert would be taken to Northwestern Memorial Hospital in a separate ambulance. In the ambulance, I held Emma's small hand tightly, struggling to hold back my tears. I watched as the paramedic attached N4 to Emma's body and checked her vital signs. "Mrs. Johnson, your daughter is in a state of severe dehydration and malnutrition. We need to start treatment immediately." I could only nod silently at the paramedic's words. Upon arrival at the hospital, Emma was immediately taken to the pediatric intensive care unit, while Robert was taken to a protective room in the psychiatric ward. As I watched over Emma's treatment, I explained the situation to the doctors. When I returned from a 6-month overseas business trip, I found them in this condition. Dr. Sarah Thompson, Emma's attending physician, listened to my story seriously. "Mrs. Johnson, Emma's condition is serious, but there's a chance for recovery with proper treatment. She'll need to be hospitalized for a while, but we'll do our best." Dr. Thompson's words gave me some relief, but my feelings were still complex. Once Emma's treatment was underway, I went to check on Robert's condition. Dr. Michael Brown, the psychiatrist, explained Robert's state to me. "Robert seems to be in a severe state of depression. We're also seeing signs of alcohol and drug addiction. He'll need detailed examinations and treatment." Hearing these words, I was shocked. I never imagined Robert would turn to alcohol or drugs. "Linda, I recommend contacting your family and friends for support. Don't try to handle this situation alone." Following Dr. Brown's advice, I contacted my parents and Robert's parents. Everyone was shocked and agreed to come to the hospital immediately. A few hours later, after confirming that Emma and Robert's conditions had temporarily stabilized, I decided to return home. I thought I might find some clues if I searched the house more thoroughly. Back at home, I was once again appalled by the state of disarray. On the living room table, several empty whiskey bottles were scattered. Bills and collection notices were strewn across the floor, including a termination notice from Robert's company, Deloitte. What on earth happened? With trembling hands, I picked up the documents and read through them. There was a note stating that Robert had leaked confidential company information to an outsider. The termination appeared to have happened about 4 months ago. As I continued searching, I found Robert's laptop. The password was our wedding anniversary date. I could easily open it. Checking his emails, I found a large number of exchanges with an unknown woman. A 28-year-old woman named Ashley. At first, the emails were work-related, but they gradually became more intimate. It can't be. An indescribable pain shot through my chest. Robert's affair. And did he leak confidential information because of his relationship with this woman? The last email was from about a month ago. "Ashley, why did you abandon me? I can't live without you." There were multiple one-sided messages from Robert, but no replies from Ashley. As all the truths come to light, anger, sadness, and a deep sense of disappointment well up inside me. Robert, who endangered Emma's life and destroyed our family. Yet, at the same time, I can't help but worry about his mental state. My cell phone rings with a call from the hospital. Emma has regained consciousness and is calling my name. I'll be right there. I hang up and take a deep breath. How should I face the difficult situation ahead? But now, I must be strong for Emma's sake. Before leaving the house, I take one last look around the living room. There are no traces of our once happy family anywhere. From now on, I'll have to rebuild everything from scratch. With that resolve, I head to the hospital. Back at the hospital, Emma had regained some of her strength. She held my hand and gave me a weak smile. While feeling relieved at her condition, the still unresolved truths weighed heavily on my heart. After Emma fell asleep, I sighed deeply in the hospital corridor. Dr. Brown, Robert's attending physician, approached me. "Linda, there's been some improvement in Robert's condition. He's shared some information with us." I leaned forward, listening intently. "Robert keeps mentioning a woman named Ashley. It seems his relationship with her triggered these recent events." Hearing Ashley's name, something nagged at me. I felt like I'd heard it somewhere before. With this thought, I headed to Robert's room. Robert seemed calmer than before, and he teared up when he saw me. "Linda, I'm so sorry." I sat down quietly in a chair, deciding to listen to his story. Ashley was my subordinate. She was talented, and I trusted her. But it was all a trap. According to Robert, Ashley skillfully gained his trust and gradually extracted confidential information from him. Then, one day, she suddenly disappeared and sold that information to a competing company. Deloitte fired me immediately. I lost everything. As I listened to Robert's confession, something kept nagging at me. Ashley. That name and the situation he described gave me a sense of déjà vu. Suddenly, the memory came back to me. Ashley Miller. A woman who was my colleague during my early days at Ernst & Young. She always viewed me as a rival and repeatedly harassed me. Eventually, she was fired from the company for misconduct. It can't be. I quickly took out my cell phone and contacted a former colleague. When I asked about Ashley's current situation, I learned that she had changed her name a few years ago and joined Deloitte. All the pieces fell into place. Ashley had deliberately approached Robert to get revenge on me. She used him to steal information while simultaneously trying to destroy our family. When I told Robert this fact, he looked stunned. "I can't believe it. I was just a tool." Tears welled up in Robert's eyes. However, anger and sadness were swirling in my heart. I couldn't forgive him for endangering our family and making Emma suffer. The next day, I met with James Wilson, a trustworthy lawyer. I explained the entire situation to him and sought his advice. "Linda, this is a complex case. Robert's actions are indeed serious, but he's also a victim in a way." James continued, carefully choosing his words. "However, we must prioritize your child's welfare. In the current situation, it's dangerous to entrust Emma's care to Robert." I nodded deeply. Emma's safety is the top priority. Let's proceed with the divorce. At the same time, we need to consider legal action against Ashley. At James's words, I steeled my resolve. To protect my family and start a new life, I must face these difficulties. Please, James. Proceed with the divorce proceedings. My voice was shaking, but my determination was firm. On the way back to the hospital, I quietly cried in the car. Memories of our once happy family flashed through my mind like a montage. But there's no going back now. When I entered Emma's hospital room, she smiled at me energetically. "Mommy, when can we go home?" "Soon, Emma. And then, we'll start a new life together." As I hugged my daughter, I made a vow in my heart. No matter what difficulties we face, I will protect Emma and make her happy. And I will walk strongly into our new life as mother and daughter. On the day of Emma's discharge, I faced Robert in the hospital corridor. His eyes were filled with remorse. "Linda, I'm truly sorry." I took a deep breath and carefully chose my words. "Robert, I understand how you feel. But from now on, we have to put Emma first." He nodded silently. After that, I took Emma to my parents' house, while Robert began treatment at the Betty Ford Center. A few days later, I was at James Wilson's law office, finalizing the details of the divorce proceedings. "Linda, I've submitted the divorce petition to the Cook County Circuit Court. It will take some time before we receive a summons from the court, but in the meantime, let's sort out the issues of property division and custody." As I listened seriously to James's explanation, I glanced out the window. The view of Chicago's skyline brought back memories of my life here, flashing through my mind like a montage. "Linda, there's one more important matter to discuss." James's voice brought me back to reality, and I focused on him. "The FBI has contacted us. They've started a large-scale investigation into Ashley's fraud." My heart raced at his words. It turns out that Ashley's actions weren't just targeting Robert. She had been stealing confidential information from multiple major companies and selling it on the black market. No way. I was at a loss for words as James continued quietly. "The FBI has begun tracking Ashley, but it's highly likely she's already fled the country. Linda, you may be asked to testify as a witness." That night, after putting Emma to bed, I sat alone in the living room, reflecting on the events of the past few weeks. Suddenly, my cell phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello, this is Linda Johnson." "Linda, it's me. Ashley." I caught my breath at the sound of her voice. "Why are you calling me?" I wanted to apologize and explain. Ashley's voice sounded tired, unlike her usual assertive tone. "My actions were wrong. I was possessed by jealousy and a desire for revenge against you, and I did something unforgivable." I listened silently. But at the very end, I realized that what I did wouldn't make anyone happy. "So I'm going to tell the police everything." "Ashley." "Linda, I'm sorry for resenting you. And I'm truly sorry for hurting your family." After the call ended, I stood there for a long time. Complex emotions swirled in my chest. The next day, I received a call from the FBI. Ashley had turned herself in and confessed to all her crimes. Her testimony would lead to the resolution of multiple corporate espionage cases. Meanwhile, Robert's treatment at the Betty Ford Center was progressing smoothly. On the weekly visitation day, he was gradually returning to his former self. "Linda, thank you so much. Thanks to you, I've found a way to get back on my feet." Robert's words made me feel a bit conflicted, but I also felt a warmth spreading in my heart. "Robert, keep working hard. Get better, for Emma's sake too." After hanging up the phone, I let out a deep sigh. We can't change the past, but we can create our own future. That's what I felt at that moment. The next morning, when Emma and I went out to the garden, we saw small sprouts peeking out of the soil. The flower seeds Emma had received as a housewarming gift were already beginning to sprout. "Look, Mommy. The sprouts are coming up." Emma's eyes were shining. Looking at her, I made a vow in my heart. Like these new sprouts, our lives would grow and flourish from now on. Having overcome difficulties and found a new ray of hope, I was certain at that moment. No matter what trials await us, as long as Emma and I are together, we can surely overcome them. And so, the Chicago morning sun began to gently illuminate our new life.